This church used Hollywood celebrities to brainwash millions of people, turning fame into a weapon of influence. But behind the glamour lies a story of manipulation, secrecy, and a sci-fi prophet who convinced thousands he held the key to eternal freedom. It was 1954 in California, and a man named L. Ron Hubbard declared the birth of something new. Not a book, not a story, but a religion. Just a few years earlier, Hubbard had written Dianetics, the modern science of mental health. On the surface, it looked like self-help. Erase your pain, heal your trauma, unlock your hidden potential. He claimed that through a process called auditing, people could purge the scars of the mind, what he called engrams. To the outside world, it sounded futuristic, bold, even scientific. But Hubbard wasn't building therapy. He was laying the foundation of a church that would outlive him and control thousands. Hubbard's teachings had a hook of their own. You are not just flesh and blood. You are an immortal spirit, a thetan, a being that has lived countless lifetimes, across galaxies, through eons. But you're trapped in this fragile human shell, weighed down by traumas older than Earth itself. Scientology offered a way out, a path called the bridge to total freedom. Each step promised power, sharper memory, control of the mind, even mastery over life and death itself. But here's the catch. Every step had a price tag. Courses, training, endless auditing. Each rung of the ladder cost more than the last. Spiritual freedom came not through prayer, but through payment. And for many, the cost was everything they had. By the 1970s, Hubbard had discovered his masterstroke, Hollywood. If you could recruit the stars, the world would follow. The church built dazzling celebrity centers, temples disguised as luxury hotels, red carpets, glimmering chandeliers, promises whispered in marble halls. Here, actors, musicians, and dreamers were told, "You are special. The future of mankind rests on your shoulders." And it worked. John Travolta, Kirstie Alley, and above all, Tom Cruise, the golden boy of Scientology. The man paraded as proof that their religion could create superhumans. But behind the velvet curtains, ex-members tell a different story. Pressure, obedience, control. Fame was no longer personal glory. It was a weapon, a billboard for a religion that thrived on image, while its followers lived in fear. As members climbed higher, they reached a level known only as OT3, a level whispered about in secrecy. And here, Hubbard unveiled the ultimate truth. 75 million years ago, an alien dictator named Xenu gathered billions of beings, brought them to Earth, and dropped them into volcanoes. Then, hydrogen bombs, a planetary massacre. The souls of the dead clung to the living, tormenting mankind to this day. These weren't metaphors, not allegories. Hubbard insisted it was real history, and the only escape was through Scientology. By the time followers reached this revelation, they had already poured years and hundreds of thousands of dollars into the system. To laugh at the story, to reject it, would mean admitting you'd been deceived. Most stayed, because leaving meant losing everything. Scientology was not built on faith alone. It was built on fear. The church created a chilling policy known as fair game. Anyone who stood against them, journalists, defectors, even family members, could be harassed, stalked, or ruined. Their lives destroyed until they bent or broke. Inside, loyalty was demanded at all costs. Members who questioned the church risked disconnection, being cut off from their loved ones forever, parents losing children, children losing parents. To doubt was to be alone. And when you're trapped between obedience and exile, fear becomes the strongest chain of all. By the 1990s, Scientology was no longer a fringe curiosity. It was a billion-dollar empire. After a bitter war with the IRS, the church gained the ultimate prize, tax-exempt status. Overnight, it was recognized as a legitimate religion. Now shielded by law, Scientology poured its fortune into real estate, buying entire city blocks, skyscrapers, and compounds guarded like fortresses. Behind the gilded walls, armies of devoted workers labored day and night, many for almost no pay. This was no longer just a church. It was a corporation, a machine, a fortress built on secrets. But even fortresses crumble. Defectors began to speak. Former top officials described abuse, humiliation, and lives shattered by obedience. Whistleblowers told stories of families torn apart, of forced labor camps where dissenters were punished, of leaders who cared more about money and power than salvation. Documentaries exposed the secrets. Books revealed hidden files. Hollywood's glow was no longer a shield. It was a spotlight. And yet, the church endures, powerful, wealthy, protected by the very fear it created. So, what is Scientology? A path to freedom? A path to power? Or one of the most elaborate systems of control ever built in modern history? The truth may depend on who you ask, but what's certain is this. A science fiction writer's imagination has trapped thousands in a story they can't escape. And in that story, freedom is never free.